but it's ridiculous. They charge like, it was like $250 for two of us to get in.
What?
Like, yeah,
My gosh.
I
Wow.
know. So, but
Huh.
it's at the Ball Arena, so it's like, it fits like 70,000 people. And
Wow. All right, let's get started. Welcome to episode 54 of the Now podcast, Making Moves in Real Estate. Today, we're diving into commercial real estate, which is an area that we have not done yet. So, we're super excited about that. We're going to talk about that and leadership and impact with somebody by the name of Caleb David. He is a powerhouse in the Colorado Springs market. His expertise spans office, medical, retail, industrial, and land markets. Beyond real estate, he's a 2022 Colorado Governor's Fellow, a board member for the BBB of Southern Colorado, and a past president of the SCCB Association. But his impact extends even further. He's the founder of the Table Initiative, a nonprofit bridging global communities, and a recipient of the Golden Rule Goodwill Ambassadorship Award for his humanitarian work in Ethiopia.
Wow.
Caleb is all about one of our favorite adjectives or nouns. Is that a noun? Connection, community, and creating space for people to be seen and heard. I think I can genuinely say that Caleb is my friend. So let's get started and welcome Caleb to our podcast.
thank you so much. I'm so excited and been looking forward to this for some time. So I'm glad to get to share some time with you and the listeners.
Yes, we are so happy to have you on. Michelle and I were talking about what topics we wanted to get on and bring to our listeners, and we realized that we had never had a guest on that specializes in commercial. So we would love,
Yeah.
I think, first maybe just how many years you've been doing the commercial, and how has the market been for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been doing this now just for over a decade. Got into it about the age of 35 when I still had some guts and decided to take the leap of faith and get into an industry that I knew absolutely nothing about. It was intimidating. With my background being in the nonprofit world, I was just like, this is a completely different turn. But fell into an opportunity where I got to be an assistant, and then if I liked it, could get into brokerage. And so had a great time. The market was still slow, which I'm actually really grateful for. It was still recovering from 2008 and when I got in 2014. And so getting to have to get on the ground and really put the work in was important for the success of my business. Because when things got good, I remembered that, oh wait, things can actually be really bad as well. And so about 2016, I would say, was when the market really started taking off here in Colorado Springs. And then it was just been a hayride until 2022. And then things got bad again, and so we had to get creative. And eventually I went off and started my own brokerage. So I've been on my own now for about almost 5 years now. And it's been a pretty fun ride.
So you're on your own in Colorado. What's the makeup of your team?
Yeah, so we don't have a huge team because culture is really important. And I think that's something that I share with you all, is that we know that having the right culture and the right people is incredibly important. And we want to be different. And so right now I've got two part-time agents that work with me. And then I've got an office manager as well, and then myself, but looking to build the team with some more experienced folks who can really hit the ground running. And so I'm hoping in the next year, in 2025, we'll be able to add someone else to our team. With having done this for about 10 years, I'm ready for a little bit of a breather. But it's got to be with the right people.
Well, you heard him. Anyone in the Colorado Springs area that's a licensed realtor needs to hit Caleb up.
Yes.
So tell our listeners what commercial real estate involves. Like, what's your day to day look like? I mean, it's a big that
Yeah.
when you talk about commercial real estate, it's a little daunting to me. So tell our listeners
Yeah.
what that really actually looks like and means for you.
Yeah, and I think what I might even do is say this is how it should look, because I think in our industry, it's dominated by a sector of people that just feel like they can sit in their high towers and, just do deals and that sort of thing. But for me, it's about listening and asking the right questions of our clients and understanding the big picture, because the big picture will inform how we make decisions moving forward, whether it be trying to find the right zoning, the right lender, the right contractors. So I tell my clients it's kind of like I'm a quarterback, and my job is to call the plays for the team and make sure that everybody's executing where they should. So, typically, it's a great question. No one's ever asked me that question before. Is what does a day look like? Not a single day looks the same. But if we take it from someone calls, off of one of our signs, we start an intake call and we start asking questions. We find out more about their background, and then really try to understand what their 5 to 10 year goals are. And so that kind of helps us, with our searching. We don't have an MLS. It's kind of like the Wild West out there. People don't understand that, if you go online and find a property, more than likely it's gone. It's probably sold three years ago, but because the brokers aren't updating their sites. And what people also don't realize is that there are third-party websites that take our listings and repost them and never take them down. So what they're intending to do is to try to find somebody that property works for, bring them to us, and they want a 20% referral commission. So it's definitely one of those things that I tell people you need to have someone on your team. I'm not an expert in residential real estate, so if I go to buy a house, I'm hiring a residential agent to help me. Can I do it? Sure. But should I? Probably not. And so, we make sure we do a call with someone, get as much information as we can, understand their budget, talk them through answering questions about areas of town. If it's a coffee shop, they probably want to have a drive-through. So we've got to find something that works for them. And so we'll put together a search, send it over to a client, have them kind of say, hey, here's my top 3 to 5 options if there are that many. And then we start the calling process and confirming the information, set up a showing. And if the space works, then we go to what's called a letter of intent. Instead of writing a contract, we essentially start pre-negotiating what that lease or purchase would be.
Is more of your business on the lease side or the purchase side, or is it like a mixture?
Yeah, it's a mixture. The last 2 years, it's definitely been like 99% leasing. People just got really scared with the interest rates. And listen, people complain about that, but at the same time, the market here was so wild. I could put something in the market within a week, it's under contract, and the prices were just getting out of control. So about 4 years ago, I'm like, something's got to give here. We can't stay at this hot market forever. And so the interest rates are now helping correct pricing in certain areas. So we're starting to see, last year I only had 2 transactions that were sales, which is very, very low, but the rest were all leases. So leases are kind of the bread and butter. And then when you get a purchase, it's kind of fun. But we're in February and I've already got 2 properties under contract for sale. So we're on track on a little bit of an uptick compared to the last 18 to 24 months.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, that's good news.
Thank you.
I'm curious, when you're searching with commercial, in your market, do you use like LoopNet or Crexy, or are those more in our area?
Yeah, no, those are all platforms that we have used at one point. LoopNet was bought out by CoStar, and they're the main. That's kind of the hub for the commercial properties. That's where most people's eyes are. However, it's also very expensive and very restrictive. So we do list our properties on those sites, but the main one that we actually use is called Catalyst by Moody's Analyst, and it seems to have the best data for the best price. And that also pushes to consumers so they can see it online when we put it up. With LoopNet, what people do not understand, they think LoopNet is kind of the end all. LoopNet actually charges brokerages a pretty ridiculous amount of money for their properties to become visible. Yes, they have a better turnover as far as how quickly the properties lease or sell, but we've just got to the point where we can't justify the cost. And so we get creative, but we still, for all of our properties that we list, it goes to all of those Crexy as well. But in my personal experience, at least in our market, I would say that Catalyst is probably our best tool.
Gotcha.
Well, so, you're obviously a successful broker in the Colorado market. Let's talk about like the characteristics that you have from your former life in nonprofit, and even now we talk about your humanitarian efforts. Like, about those life experiences have brought you to become so successful in your commercial real estate?
Yeah, I think, I think the biggest thing is that people, I have this belief that people remember how you make them feel, and people want to be listened to. And, I had 20 plus years in the nonprofit sector and doing things wrong for a very long time. I was very much focused on, oh, this is how it needs to be done. I'm an American. I can go overseas and I can be like, okay, let me help you fix the situation. And over time, I realized how arrogant that was, and I think there's a lot of arrogance and ego in my industry as well.
Mm,
And so taking the time to listen, I did a lot of work in Ethiopia. I've been there probably close to 30 times. Both my kids are adopted from Ethiopia.
mm,
And over time, I had to learn the humility of realizing I don't have the answers and find the resources that are within the country, that people that understand the culture that can help me bring dignity in the help that I bring.
mhm.
And so I think listening to people and treating people with respect and humility, I think, is something that I've learned and brought over into this industry. And I think it's really set us apart. I mean, I've even had someone come to me and come to our website and said, there was an African American, and they said, I went to your website and I felt safe.
Mhm.
And that is something that is so important to me in a very white male dominated industry, is
Mm.
to bring that diversity, to have more women in commercial real estate, to have, someone who is bilingual and can speak Spanish. I think that's important to me and it's part of my vision, but I think it's, treating people not like they're just a transaction,
Mhm.
and something to make me feel better or something to make me feel um, useful, because I think so often in the area of service, we're serving to get our goodness reflected back to us, right?
Mhm.
And so I think bringing to the table that we are all inherently good, and treating people like that makes a big difference.
Well, I can see how important that would be when the bulk of your businesses are leases, where you're servicing these
Yeah,
clients for a long period of time. It would be so
yeah,
critical that you've established that trust with them and that they feel
yeah,
comfortable with you. It's not a one and done like some transactions are.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We have situations, I mean, where, I'm wrapping up a situation right now where I got a lease signed last June for a client, and the contractor was supposed to get the work done by September 1 so they could get inspected by the state for their licensure. And, we got paid on the first half of the lease, but the contractor just kept dragging my client out, dragging it out. They finally finished the work literally 2 weeks ago,
Mm.
and we still haven't gotten paid on the second half for work that we did a year ago. And people don't understand how that works, and so the owner of the building was like, well, until they're open and get their license, they had been paying rent for 3 4 months, so they burned through the free rent period. And that's something that people don't think about as well, is that when you're going through the process, you need to help your clients get the best deal possible by trying to get some free rent, trying to get some tenant improvement allowance from the landlord. And, in this particular case, we're still waiting on payment, but we stayed 6 months or longer, no, 7 8 months with the client, following up with them every week, checking in with the listing broker or the owner to make sure that all of this got done. And so we finally got it done, and hopefully there's a check in the mail soon.
You better get
Yeah.
paid. Well, I think it sounds a lot like residential real estate, where people just don't see the behind the scenes work, and they
Yes.
just assume you're just getting paid. And there's a lot of work where you're not getting paid or you're waiting
Yeah.
to get paid. So it's definitely a difficult.
Yeah, I think we can relate with some of our probate sales that we've handled recently that were months and months of work before they even hit the market and small price
Yeah.
points.
Yeah.
But we have happy
Yeah.
clients, happy clients.
Yeah. And I think, when you treat people right, they come back around. I've had
Mhm.
clients that have come back to me 3 4 times. anytime they need something in commercial real estate or they refer a friend. I mean, I haven't cold called in years. It's just been a steady stream of referral.
It's the connection side of you, Caleb, for
It is.
sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what's going on with your business this year? What are your goals and how are you planning to get there?
Yeah. So my goals for this year, I mentioned earlier, would love to add an experienced broker to our team that can take some workload off, but also to start working after the last 2 years. I mean, honestly, to get out of some debt that has come about and to seek creative ways of how can I maximize my business. With a little as little effort as possible. And so one of the ways I'm doing that is doing podcasts because I really like to educate people and help people in that way. And even if it doesn't come with a check, that's okay because you're arming people with good information. And so, after talking with you all and doing a few other podcasts, I am launching my own podcast that's coming out soon. I don't have a date yet, but it's going to be called Commercial Real Estate Unfiltered. And we're going to have tons of different guests on, and I'm really looking forward to that. So I think that's one of the ways I'm going to reach those goals is to get more of that visibility, because commercial real estate should be approachable. And so I think when it becomes approachable, then the fear factor is taken out for a small to medium sized business, and they're able to make quality decisions for their business. And when my clients' businesses thrive, then I do as well. So those are some things that we're looking at doing for this year.
That's so exciting.
So exciting.
Yes.
Congratulations, Caleb.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. We're so excited to have met you, Caleb. I feel like you're just such a breath of fresh air, and I'm blessed to have gotten to know you.
You as well. I feel the same. I think light attracts like.
Yeah, that's so true. So true. So, well, we're grateful to have you on the podcast. And would you please be so kind to let our listeners know where they can get in touch with you, especially any commercial real estate agents out there in Colorado Springs? So let's get them an agent, folks.
Get them an agent and a
Absolutely.
guest of the podcast.
That would be amazing. Yeah, and they could live anywhere up and down the Front Range. I do work from North Colorado down to Colorado Springs and sometimes Pueblo, but they can find. And here's the thing: we want people to reach out to us, even if you just have questions.
Mm-hmm.
We do lease reviews for people. We kind of help people, especially when things were rough the last couple of years. People are trying to decide, what do I do? So we can take a look at your lease. We can take a look at your building if you own it and say, is it the right time to buy? Should you lease? Should you find another tenant? So we want to be that resource for people. And we do that for free. So pick up the phone, say hello, send us an email. You can find me on Instagram at Caleb David. Same at LinkedIn, and Facebook is facebook.com/Caleb David. And so we'll be putting out some more content. Hopefully that will be helpful to everyone. And then you can just go to our website as well, which is just davidcommercial.com, and would love to have a conversation.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's so great. Well, for all of you listening, make sure you check out this episode on our YouTube channel, the Now Podcast for Real. Make sure you subscribe. That way you can get all of Caleb's info on there, and you can hit us up if you have any questions for him. We'll definitely be looking at it and responding. And I just so appreciate you coming on, Caleb. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Caleb. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.